Alongside 24/7 Sports scouting director Andrew Ivins and national recruiting analyst Tom Loy, I am Blair Angulo, and we are getting you ready for National Signing Day, taking a look at the Florida State Seminoles 2026 recruiting class. This is a question that we get asked a lot, Andrew. Who is going to be ready to play? Who are we going to see on the field next fall? Who do you got?
Blair, how about wide receiver Jason Lopez out of the pass catcher factory? That is Shamadan Madonna Prep. This is a kid with over 5,000 career receiving yards. He's been doing it since he was an eighth grader down in South Florida. I mean, who knows what Florida State's offense is going to look like next season? Is Gus Malzahn going to be there? Is Deuce Robinson going to be there? They got a lot of young wide receivers that they like, but I think Jason Lopez, a guy that just knows how to get open with his deceleration, with his acceleration. I think he's a guy that can step in and carve out a role in the slot, regardless of who's calling plays, regardless of who's in that wide receiver room. A kid that's also expected to play basketball for the Seminoles reminds me a little bit of Xavier Restrepo, but he's been excellent every time the competition has been ramped up.
Andrew, I was really close to going with J-Rock, but I went with five-star cornerback Chauncey Kennan. I mean, Florida State needs difference makers, and Kennan is exactly that. I mean, he's about, and you know better than anybody, he's about as complete a corner as you'll find in this entire class. He's athletic. He's got this just a genuine ability to be an elite, high-level football player that just really fires me up. He's super smooth, advanced skill set, so a lot to like there. I just think he is one of the safest bets in this class to be really, really good, but he's got the potential to be outstanding during his time in Tallahassee.
I went with edge rusher Jalen Anderson, maybe kind of a cheat, right? Because he's a junior college prospect, but I think the experience that he gains over the last couple of years at the JC level allows him to step in there as an early enrollee and really compete for snaps this spring ball. I think he shows tremendous bend as a pass rusher. I love his get off. I love his ability to shed blocks. I think he dips underneath some of those gaps that he needs to attack. And when you mix in kind of his technique with his motor, with his ability to get into the backfield. And I think he's very versatile as a run stopper as well. I think he's going to be an asset for FSU in that front seven as early as next season. A player that is ranked number 6 amongst all junior college prospects. So a big recruiting victory for FSU on that front. The quarterback room, Tom, it took some lumps here in this class. They had another prospect committed earlier in the process as well. How do you assess what they did on the quarterback front?
So they landed 3-star quarterback Jaden O'Neal, a guy that we know very well. We've seen him on the 7-on-7 circuit. We've seen him at the high school level. And honestly, no one can deny that this kid is a big, strong, live arm. I mean, he's truly in my opinion, one of the more talented passers in the 2026 class. 29 TDs, 3 picks this year, according to Max Prep. So statistically, a good year. A couple transfers at the high school level. I want to continue to see improved accuracy and consistency. You kind of see him at the 7-on-7 level a lot, and he makes the wow throw, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like the bad miss. So just want to see that. But again, a lot to like with Jaden O'Neal. He's got some stuff that you can really work with. So overall, strong get for the Seminoles.
Yeah, Tom, I mean, 4 or 5 different high schools. Blair, he was out in your woods. Now he's in the middle of America, a kid we have seen on the camp circuit. And you're right, Tom. I mean, he can make, a majority of those throws, some high-level throws. I think with him, the consistency is certainly an area where you want to see him improve. He's another kid that's kind of dealt with some injuries. And, I think he's honestly kind of an interesting fit for what Gus Malzahn wants to do. We've seen Thomas Castellanos. We remember what Gus did at UCF and Auburn. Those guys moved around a ton. Jaden O'Neal, negative rushing yards as a senior. With that being said, as a junior, he was featured as a power runner when he was out in California. So what Jaden O'Neal is Florida State getting in 2026 and beyond? You look at that quarterback room there. Just kind of, I think the preliminary outlook, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State's looking for some depth potentially in that QB room as they groom Jaden O'Neal and Kevin Sperry, who's also from Oklahoma.
I view Jaden O'Neal as a really promising developmental piece in that quarterback room. I think you stash him away, you kind of pour your resources into, you get his body right physically for the rigors of the ACC, and I think this is a player who, like Tom, you mentioned, he has all the arm talent in the world. I think now it's about finding his timing, finding his accuracy, really working with his decision making, deciphering coverages behind the line of scrimmage and before the snap. I think are going to be important for Jaden O'Neal as he continues to progress. And guys, remember, FSU since 2015, when Jameis Winston went #1 overall in the draft, they've only had one quarterback drafted. So I think this is a program that needs to continue to refine that position and really find some of those difference makers. Andrew, this is, again, a program that has a really good recruiting class. This would be the second best recruiting class under Mike Norvell since he arrived there with the Seminoles. Who are maybe some players underneath the blue chippers that you might find on the field next fall?
Well, Blair, I'm cheating here because I think he's like 246 in the rankings. I love this Franklin Whitley kid. They got out of South Carolina. Big frame defensive lineman. This is his first year playing football. He is a former basketball-focused athlete. I call him an Adonis, right? Frame-wise, everything you want to see. You see photos of this kid, you watch him on tape, you're like, whoa, who is this individual? He's over 6'5". He's 266 pounds. He's got 35-inch arms, and he can move, right? And yeah, technically he's got a ways to go, but I think, encouraging spells of play here. It kind of reminds me of Joseph Mbachu, who was very similar. Basketball kid, ends up signing with Florida. We thought he was going to be, 3-4 years down the line. You look up, he's playing and contributing year one as a rookie for the Florida Gators. So I think if Florida State can get that out of Franklin Whitley, that would be a huge recruiting coup. I mean, this is a guy that Georgia and Clemson were sniffing around on. But even if, he needs a year on ice, I mean, this is a guy that physically has a lot of traits other players in this class don't have.
I'm going to go with 3-star defensive back Jordan Crutchfield, a guy I've seen plenty of times on the 7-on-7 circuit. Just really like the length, the size. He's a playmaker on the back end. I mean, this kid oozes upside and potential. He has a lot of what you can't teach or truly coach up at this stage. So again, a ton of upside and potential there, but plays with a nasty streak that I really like as well. So he's kind of violent. He's just exactly what Florida State needs on the back end. So again, really, really nice pickup with Jordan Crutchfield.
I really like what Florida State did in state with running back Amari Thomas. Mike Norvell, that staff, they pulled out the Uno card, guys, the reverse flip. We don't really see that in recruiting. He was committed initially to the Seminoles, then flips to South Carolina, and then is a consistent visitor at Florida State games throughout the season, ends up flipping back to the Seminoles and gives them a high-profile ball carrier that they really needed in this class. I love what he's able to do at the second level. He shows the suddenness that you need when you're thinking about missing that second-level linebacker or evading the safety that's kind of hovering and cheating against the run. I love his burst when he gets to that level, and then he explodes and gets through. So, maybe not the most highly rated prospect, but I think really steady across the board, and is a very powerful ball carrier. So I really like what the Seminoles did there. Tom, going back with you about the outlook and the overall feel of this class. I mentioned at the top, the second highest rated class in the Mike Norvell era on paper headed to Tallahassee.
Honestly, for me personally, I just think it's a little underwhelming as a whole, just really diving into it. I think losing a legacy in top 100 cornerback Jay Timmons, a guy that we love at 24/7 Sports, I mean, that's a blow. And then you land only one in-state recruit in the top 20, according to our rankings at 24/7. That's not ideal. So I think they're evaluating the right guys. They're targeting the right guys. They're simply just not closing on them and getting it done to their own standards and expectations. So Mike Norvell is back in 2026. They got to get some things figured out. It's time for some changes, but they got to do it quickly. There is enough talent there on the roster. Again, though, as a whole, we're talking about the 2026 recruiting class, a little underwhelming. Some really nice pieces, though.
Blair, I think my biggest takeaway here is the potential depth. And this could be Florida State's largest recruiting class in 24/7 Sports history. I mean, you got to go back to 2014. They signed 29 guys. Dalvin Cook was in that class. As it stands right now, this recording, 28. You read Knowles 247, sounds like, hey, they could sign 30 plus here. And for Florida State, it's interesting times. Tom brought up, hey, Mike Norvell's coming back. It sounds like there's going to be some front office changes. But to me, where my mind goes is the potential depth on this roster. I remember doing one of these last year, and I said, hey, the Desir twins, I love that for Florida State. Yeah, they're not 4-star players, but you can see the vision, right? These are guys that can be, multi-year contributors at Florida State in the ACC. Now, did I think they'd be at the front end of the rotation year one? No, but Florida State got that out of them. So, yeah, Chauncey Kennan, love him, the corner. Isaiah Williams, the in-state linebacker, love him. He misses his senior season due to a knee injury. We talked about Jason Lopez. You scroll down the commit list, though. Kyron Maycock, a linebacker out of Miami Central. There's some guys in here where you can see the vision for Florida State. And instead of going out and leaning so much on the transfer portal, I do think they are trying to build out the roster the right way through the high school ranks. So I think the depth here is what stands out to me.
I'm going to mesh what both of you said. It is a bit underwhelming seeing what Florida State did on the high school front. You love the fact that it's a high volume class in terms of quantity because it does give you bodies, but it maybe does lack some of that game breaking quality that they need because these are coaches and this is a staff that I think the heat has been turned up a bit on their status there in Tallahassee. So they need some immediate playmakers. I think the transfer portal will be huge to pick out some of those pieces, maybe dive into certain positions because this is a program like we mentioned earlier, is going to have a lot of expectations this fall. This has been our quick hit look at the Florida State Seminoles and their 2026 recruiting class. For everything FSU recruiting, stay locked into Knowles 24/7 and keep it right here on the CBS Sports College Football Recruiting Channel.